Okay, so let's go over them one more time. What is this one? Who knows what it is?
Ms. Rad, can I record, please?
Yes. Good morning, Jewel. Okay, so there you go. So we have a zippered pocket. And this one is what?
A coin pocket,
And this one is,
a flap,
and this one,
box pleat,
and this one.
was a basin.
Nope, that's this one.
Oh, that one was a
You sew it right on top, so it's called a, what do you,
patch,
yeah, patch. Yeah.
double welt.
I wonder if the patch pocket was invented because someone got a hole and they decided to turn it into a pocket. I don't know. Interesting thought. Okay, so what do you think this one is?
A double welt pocket
Correct. Correct. And then this one?
is it's not a side seam, but it is a
Starts with an S. Sounds
flap
like, yes. And this one is called,
kangaroo pouch.
it's just kangaroo pocket or pouches.
Kangaroo pocket.
Fine. It's only on here, it's just kangaroo. And then on the seams, what is it called?
A side seam.
Yes.
Or a side pocket seam.
Yeah, that's correct. And then this one?
Single welt.
Yeah, so it's opening right here where I put the, that's the opening. And then this one is called?
A smile pocket or smile slit pocket.
Yeah, it's called a smile slit. Okay, so we'll review it again, but this will be the quiz for this week. So we're going to do some menswear. I put on the assignment sheet for the special occasion. I thought I would review it with all of you. I don't know if you had a chance to go in and look, but I'm going to go find it and show it to you. Let's see, it's under assignments. Okay, let's see, assignments, scroll down. Okay. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Share screen. Oh no, what am I doing wrong? I want to share my screen. I haven't done it in so long. Okay, I think there. Okay. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen and I'm going here. I'm in assignments. I'm going to the third collection, special occasion. Maybe I'll make it a full screen. So it can be a wedding party or a special event or a cruise or a trip and the wardrobe to travel, or an event like Coachella or Burning Man. So you get to decide what kind of special occasion do you want this to be. So remember, your first collection, you chose your favorite brand and what you would design for them in a future season. Then your second collection, the one we just did, you had a brand you liked and you created a new collection for your own new division of that brand. Now you are creating your own collection for your own brand. So instead of researching a brand you like, you're going to research a competitive brand with the same target customer that you are trying to appeal to. And how would you create your collection to compete for those dollars to buy your product? Use this assignment sheet like a check sheet and mark off each instruction so you don't miss anything. Please present in this order. So your first page is your cover page. It needs a color photo or an illustration. It must have your logo, the season, a delivery, month, day, and year. I don't know if you can hear that noise, but I have to go turn that off. That is my plumbing.
Done. Fine. Sorry.
You have the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a minute, or it's going to drive you guys loony. I had a handyman fix it and it lasted about a month. Now I need to hire a plumber. Okay. Second page is your mood board page. Use inspirational images, swatches, places. This time, no people, animals, textures, or things. Architecture will be part of this inspiration. So you have to have at least one picture with some architecture in it. A category page. So your category page is all these things I'm going to list. But your first page, it just tells me in typing, in typeset, what they all are, a quick review. It's kind of like an index page. So what is your group or theme name? What market are you appealing to? So some examples are junior, Missy, contemporary, designer. Who's your target customer? And so when you type this out, it can just be simple, a couple words for each question. Season at least 1 year from now and price range. Entire presentation is computer generated. Obviously, we can't get away with much here. No handwriting, framed and presented professionally. Definitely have a logo and label. Can use the same logo as your last collection if you want. Everything is neatly mounted, squared, and not crooked. This is an index page for quick reference of all that is following. And then all these things follow. It will have your color story, at least 5 colors in a story and 2 stories, your lace design and 3 color choices, at least 3x3 swatch so I can see the detail. Your fabric story has margins, are straight and easily understandable. Stack with lining, self fabric, the contrast fabric, and a trim. So right there, you know that one of those outfits has to have lining. Now you're going to be doing men and women, so it could be a man's jacket that has the lining. And then contrast, you're going to have one of your outfits to have some contrast and trim, some kind of trim. You get to decide what kind of trim. Fabric story has lace, leather, shine, and transparent fabric. All fabrics are labeled, so you need to go online and look for swatches of fabric and their type and content. So in the modules, I put 2 links to websites that describe fabrics, have pictures of fabrics. And if you find one you like better, let me know, email me a link and I'll put it on the module. So all fabrics should be labeled with type and content. I didn't write that in there. I just put all fabrics are labeled. I need to add that in there. Your trim story, this will show embellishments, beadings, sequins, crystals, piping, edgings, feathers, fringe, openings, closures, buttons, zippers, buckles, straps, ties or bows, etc. Label, hang tag, and logo. So we did a hang tag and logo in the children's collection. It can still be the same if you want, and a label to put in the back of a collar or a shirt or a pant. Illustration board is 2 female figures. At least one of those figures should have front, side, and back, and one just front only. 2 male figures, fronts only. All illustrations are in color. Even if you make it in black fabric, have an available color and illustrate it in color. All have hair trends and colored with 3 values in line variety. All fabrics, patterns, textures are expressed correctly. Put figures in compositions of at least 2 or 3 figures on a page. And then your flat boards, all pencil grids, HPS lines, and axis lines will be erased. Now, they should have been on your last 2 collections, so I could see that you used those to get symmetry and everything aligned straight. This time you will still use them, but erase them after you've inked. Your inked flats with all details, seams, and construction in a thin ink pen like Micron 02, and the outside silhouette with a 0.08 micron pen. You'll use rulers and French curves, and if you don't have them, you can fold a piece of paper and make it a ruler, and a French curve cut from paper neatly. A little harder paper, you can get nice curves to use like a ruler. And I put the pattern of a French curve on the module. All flats need style numbers, description of construction details, typed, fabric and content for each flat. So the last 2 collections, I let you write it by hand. but this time you have to type it. What colors each flat comes in, and the available sizes, wholesale and retail prices. All flats will have gray marker on the reverse side of the fabric, inside collars and front showing on the back view. So like if you did an overall, and when I see the back view, I don't just see this crisscross straps, but I see the bib front, and that's in gray. So all openings are clear and understandable and allow for bust and hips to get out of the garment. If the fabric is woven, it needs construction details to shape the body or the silhouette. All flats are buttoned up and buttons are on the center access line. Show at least one pocket detail. Don't forget crotch seams. Small details are enlarged in call-out boxes. Flats are symmetrical and front and back match the silhouettes. So if you have a front and back pant, you don't want one leg bigger than the other. They all four should have the same silhouette. All flats use the same croquis template. You don't want little flats and big flats. They have to look like they all came from the same croquis, whether it's the man's croquis or the female croquis, but they all have to look like they fit the same person. Suggested styles are one dress and one two-piece outfit, top and bottom for the woman, for women, and two pants. Okay, this is, I should write in there men. So the women, either a long dress and a two-piece skirt and top. And for the man, two pants, one jacket, one coat, one vest, one shirt, and one top. It's 10 total garments. So I think I need to write man in there so you know that that's for a man. And okay, it is worth 110 points. I have an error on here. That should say 110 to match the rubric. So I have to repair that. I made this up last night, so usually I'd be handing you out the information, but it's not that way anymore. I have to type them in here, and I made an error. So I will fix it. Okay, so that is that. Now I have to figure out how to get back, yes, to my screen. So did I lose my screen? No, because it's right there. Stop share. There we are. Okay. Hope I made that make sense. Okay, so now I'm going to do some menswear. Does that sound good to you guys? Pin video. So you can watch me sketch some menswear. Put my phone out of the way. And I will get a pencil. So on the, I don't know if I should show you that. Have you all looked at the module? Because I put a lot of templates of women and men on there. Have you had a chance to look? Is that a no? You can also talk in the chat if you don't have sound.
I'm looking at it right now. Yet I see that you have a lot of flats.
Yeah. I mean, I could show it on the screen. Do you want me to share it?
No, it's okay. Yeah, if you want. I'm doing it from my computer.
Okay, let's see if I can figure it out. We'll go back and I'll share the screen.
Can we make our own
Yes,
body?
definitely.
You know how you taught us in the beginning?
Yeah, you can make your own. You are not in prison. You get to do what you want. I just put those there to make it easier for some that struggle. Okay, so I'm going down to why am I struggling here? Hold on. Make it bigger.
One of these days, can you show us how like a pattern card works? Because I mean, I kind of know how it works, but I know that it asks for like like certain how many like inches to sew per inch, and like.
I can show you that, but you do learn that in Pattern Making 1. But I will show you. when we were in class and not online, we used to, I used to bring in the very first pattern that you make for pattern making, which is a block. It's called, it's a basic sheath dress with the long sleeves and the bodice and the skirt. And then we made it a flat and we put it in the pattern card. And so we can do that. I just didn't do it because we don't have it all here. So let's see. What happened to this picture? Oh, there it went. How weird. So it went there. So that's one of them. And then it bumped me out of where I was. That's weird.
And how does pattern making work now? Like, because don't you need a software like for the pattern making class?
It depends which class you take. Um, there is a class where we use Gerber and you make the patterns on computer. But the very first class is usually the hands-on one where you learn how to make a basic block. And from that basic block, you make different outfits. So that's what you learn first before you learn Gerber, which is all computer. So that's pattern making. I think it's just called pattern making 1. And I think it goes, you do construction for clothing first, and then you do my class, and then you learn the beginning pattern making. So
And
none of
then
you had that yet?
no, you have to pass your class first.
So I don't know why it's making you download everyone.
I usually do that.
You download each one?
I download each one and then I print it out and then I delete them.
Oh, because usually when I'm not sharing it, it just, the picture pops up. So it doesn't do it this way. I guess it has to do with how I've got it set up. Usually doesn't pop it out of the frame. It just goes picture to picture.
Oh yeah, it does sometimes pop out.
Yeah,
The
I
way
don't
you're
know why it's doing that. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, they're all in there. I don't usually have to do this going back and forth. And so I labeled them. I'll go back to modules. I labeled them. They're all women except the ones I specifically labeled that they were men, just so that it would make it a little easier. So it's in week, I don't know what week we're in anymore. Is this week 5? No, that was children's. Okay, it's this week.
Yeah, we're in week 5.
Yeah, so this is,
To approach
yeah,
week 6.
yeah. So it actually, let's see if it's menswear. I don't know. Yeah, there's a menswear. Okay. Okay, so I will, it's too time consuming to do this. I don't know why it doesn't do it the way it looks when I do it. But now you know where it is, so you can look. So I'm going to draw a man, and then I'm going to draw how I would go about designing with that architectural image. So we'll start with the man here. Move my tea so I don't spill it on anything. So usually I would get a photo or an illustration and I would go from there. So in the Ninehead textbook, they have menswear. So I could use one of these figures to sketch from, or I could get a photo, or I could use a template. But I'm going to just use this for a reference, just so you can see. So there's a couple things I could do to make it a little easier. One of them would be to use a ruler, put it straight through the center of the neck, just to help me determine destination points. Makes it a little easier. Okay, so I'm looking at the head size. It's more of a rectangle. The neck comes straight down. So he definitely has a V shape, a little wide. There's a little bit of wrinkle. But his hips are slim. His knees can be a little wider than a woman's. His ankles are a little wider. And then I look at the direction of his feet. I don't know if you can see that better. Not really. Well, between my, let's see if I can move this out a little so I get more room. There we go. Yeah, stay there. I tried to figure out which book I tear out the picture, and I can't figure it out. I think I've now successfully torn out pictures out of both books, so it makes it harder to remember which one I tore out. Okay, so I'm going to do the next leg, looking at the direction and the angle, and looking at this. One is a little lower than the other. Not much. And I don't know that they even would be, since they're just both standing. Maybe one's a little pushed back farther than the other. But there is just a little bit of change in there. And then, so what is his special occasion if I put him in a jogging suit? Is he going for a morning jog before he gets married? And this is his before the wedding outfit. So once again, if I'm going to have two hands, I don't draw them both. I make one simple, and then one I will draw the detail. So it should be somewhat similar. I like his face. He looks tough. And with men, you can put a lot of lines on his face and he just looks tougher. Okay, so I might make those pants just a little fuller. Let's see. So on the instructions, I said that the man could be fronts only. Trying to make it not too difficult. For those of you that want to go into menswear, if you prefer to put more emphasis on men, you can make the man the front side and back and not the woman, and then just make two women fronts. You can change it if that's your preference. Okay, so I'm going to make a composition. So I'm looking at this one, and it actually draws my attention that direction. And this one, his attention's going that direction, but I want him to actually go the other direction so that it looks like he's looking, it's bringing my eye back around. So one of the ways to bring my eye back around would be to draw his face going the other direction. So that's a possibility too. So I'm looking at some of my other choices. This one might be a little bit more with keeping my direction going in one back to the center. So if I did do this one, I would probably change that head and make it looking towards him. That would bring me back to center. So I'm going to just draw. So this was not a lot of hip swing. A little bit more. So if you do these lightweight, not too hard, the pencil line, and then you sketch over it, you can erase out some of the lines you don't need. So I'm going to give him a jacket. So think of a special occasion that he could be going to. Anybody got any ideas?
A business meeting or like just like drinks with a friend.
Okay, so I like drinks with a friend instead of business. So what are they drinking, beers or wine?
They're drinking whiskey.
Oh, little shot glasses of whiskey. Okay.
It's maybe a little too stereotypical.
And maybe some mixed nuts. I don't know. Okay, so they're drinking whiskey out of some nice little crystal decanter. Okay. Oh, my pencil. Okay, I have more. Yay. Out of the way. Okay. Okay. So we see some of the jacket folded here. We see the lapel folded back. And we see his hand coming around. Okay, so I see his button and his fly is a little and then he's going to wear some kind of shoe. And then I'm going to go back to my textbook, to men's faces, or you could go to a photo. Oh, actually, the men's faces are here. I forgot. We did one front view man's face, but we've never done a 3/4 face. So we want him to be looking in that direction. So we're going to get this nice guy with a little hat, which isn't bad. I'm going to erase some of that line. So give him a long chin. So now he's got a 3/4 lip and a longer chin and a little nose. Last night, when I started online teaching, I went on the internet to look at other online teachers. And so I had looked at them before, but never with much interest. And a lot of them bored the heck out of me because I'm really hyper. I don't know if you've figured that out yet, but I have an attention span that's very short. I get bored. And so I speed everything up when I watch anything on YouTube, and it actually helps me not get bored. And I usually can only handle it for about 5 minutes, and then I have to put it on hold and come back. But I watched this teacher that's online. She used to teach at a college, I think in LA, but she's been online now since I think 2016. And I was able to actually find her very first online teaching video. And it made me feel not so intimidated because she was horrible. And now she's really good. And so I have, when I have time, I go look at what she's doing. And she's got a great personality and she made me laugh. And I think that's one of the most important things is to, when you go to watch a video, you want to have some entertainment besides learning something, and it keeps you engaged and wanting to keep watching. So I started watching her podcast, and she decided the day that I go to look that she's not going to do them anymore. So there's only 7 more days to watch her podcast, and then she's taking them off the internet, which I didn't even think was possible, that you can take something off the internet. But so I watched it, and it got me so hypered I couldn't go to sleep. And I was like, now I have a new rule. I don't watch podcasts after 8 p.m. because I will get too wired. Okay, so his face looks too fat. I'm gonna, you can see, I just think he looks a little too fat. So I'm gonna
So
bring,
it's not just kids that have like the hyper. I
yeah,
feel like
it's
it's
me.
everyone.
It's me, and actually Coca-Cola makes me more calm than speeds me up. So whenever I am anxious, I have a Coca-Cola, which is probably the worst thing you could have. But it actually does the job. It keeps me from being too hyper.
When I was a kid, my teacher in like elementary school said I had ADD, and my mom had to take me to the hospital and like get checked out. But now that I think about it, is how do you expect like a kid to be seated 7 hours a day from just lecture? Like, of course the fucking kid's gonna get bored.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
Like, I don't know how these kids do it now. Like, I mean, I don't know how I did it.
Well, I managed to have 4 very hyper children, and I had a trampoline in my backyard so that I could wear them out before they wore me out. And that seemed to work pretty well. So I'm just messing with his face. I don't know if you can see my detail. His nose can be a little wider. Plus, I'm going to put that hat on him. I go back to the longer chin. So That's somebody's alarm clock.
Yeah, it's mine.
His hat looks a little funky to me. I think I made it too high. I'm just going to bring it down just a little. So I'll give him a little shadow. Okay, so maybe I'll take Mr. Jogger and put a different outfit on him. So one of the, this guy gets a shirt. So I think it was 2 shirts, a vest, and a coat and a jacket. So maybe this guy, I'm going to give him a coat. And then maybe I'll give him like a trench coat. So maybe both sides will have those flaps. Maybe it'll come big, and maybe a buckle on that side and a pocket. And then it's not going to be shorts anymore. So I think I had a jacket, a shirt, a coat, and a vest. So now he's looking like Superman. So let's see, if he had a vest, it might come here. And then he's probably going to have another shirt that just opens there. Okay. Could give him a tie if I thought it would look better. And then he's going to have some pants. So I'm going to give him a little bit more pant. So it's getting to be a lot of lines. I might do an overlay to get better, or I could just color on top of this and just throw it into some shadowing. So it depends what colors I was going to use. If I use some dusty colors, I might get away with coloring right over all this graphite. It might look okay. But if it's some light colors, it won't work. I'd have to do an overlay. But I'd make it work. So I'd probably take out those little circles, because those are just going to make it look like I had another drawing underneath. And maybe just erase that axis line that I drew. But a lot of it you can get rid of because you're going to color it in anyway. Some of the lines can just go into shadows because the body underneath is usually creating the shadows. So some of it I could just, it would definitely just wash out. So I can fill in the blanks. If I erase some things, it'll look fine. So this is my gray. So I'll just come in and put a little shadow I've chosen, I'm going to do some dusty colors. So I'm more into the inside of the leg, underneath the knees, going to create some shadows, and the calf will give it some shadows. The pulls of the folds, and it overlaps there, so that'll give it shadow. Inside of the coat will get shadow. The hand will create a little shadow. And on this one, the picture actually shows me some shadow shapes, so that kind of helps. So once again, I'm not on marker paper, I'm on bond paper. So if I'm sketching something that's not shiny and smooth, I can get away with my bond paper just to save time and money. But not, sometimes it's definitely needs that smooth saturation that markers could do. But I'm going to put markers on this. I'm going to choose dustier colors so that will actually work just fine. So this is, don't know how dark this is. When in doubt, do a shadow. That's really dark. Maybe that'll be in my bar. I don't think I want that color. This one might be a little lighter. Yeah, that one's a little lighter. So if I wanted that to be a pant, I actually could get away with it. So I'm not doing, yeah. Do you guys find that you dream about your homework assignments or your collection? Are you able to just put it aside and not think about it? No one? So I'm mixing, I'm using sand, no I'm not, I'm using brick beige and I'm using light umber. So I'm dipping into light under and I'm getting a little contrast. It's looking like a cowboy that I made him so. I don't want it to look like a heel. I don't know if it's looking that way. Definitely want it to look like a shoe. I think I made that vest a little too short. And I don't want to resketch it, so I'm just going to make it look the same color so that it makes sense why I made it so short. I'm looking for another color. Debating what color I want to make that jacket. What color is this? Umber. Blue peach. Pale peach. Can't seem to find the color I want. So markers are popular because you can get it done fast, saves time. That's really important for a fashion designer, to save time. Watercolors traditionally were used for fashion sketching, and around the 70s they switched over to markers because there was no comparison. It was faster. I had talked about these markers. These I ordered on Amazon, and they're just a tube, and you fill it with water, and then you get wet. And it's great for the watercolor pencil because you can do it all in pencil and then come in with that watercolor brush that has water in it and change your pencil drawing into a water sketch. You just have to be on a little heavier paper like Bristol board or watercolor paper so that your paper doesn't shrink up on you. Depending how much water you put on the sketch is how much you're going to get shrinkage. So you either shrink the watercolor paper by getting it wet and taping it down on a board and letting it dry, or use a harder paper like Bristol board, illustration board, so that it won't buckle up on you. So if I put it this way, the buttons are going to be here. So I'm watching too many detective movies. I think I just drew a detective and he's mad at this slick criminal. I think I've watched too many.
What movies have you been watching, Miss Rad?
The cable free ones that are just so stupid and old. And I think I just like them. So funny. But someone told me to watch Bosch because it's all filmed in LA. So I did watch that, and that was really good. I don't know if you've seen it, but I get a kick out of just seeing scenery from Los Angeles. Makes me not feel so shut in. But it's on Netflix if you haven't seen it. And it's just about crime in LA. Your typical detective movie. Well, it's not really a movie, it's a series. Nobody's watched it?
I've been watching a lot of stuff on like Netflix, and I mean, I watch a lot of anything with like fantasy.
Oh,
Stuff
like
like
what?
that. I like.
What do you recommend?
Actually, there's a new show on Amazon. It's not that new. But it's called Carnival Row.
Yeah.
That's on Amazon Prime. That's really good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Check
That's
it out.
about a mystery solving as well, Miss Rad. But it's
Oh.
fantasy, and it takes place in like 1800s. 1800s London. Well, it looks like London, but it's not called London. And there's like a bunch of racism going on, but instead of them being like human races, they're like fairies and I can't think of the other names, but
Yeah.
it's really cool. And yeah, because they were all in a war.
Yeah.
And these creatures ended up helping them a lot, but they never really got any reconcile from it. Even though they helped them a lot, they still get treated horrible. And it's really good. There's a lot of racism that goes on. And yeah,
I'll check it out.
it's really good. Orlando Bloom is the lead.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah.
Ever since he was, wait, is he the right one? Was he?
He was in Legolas and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first time I saw him. But he's cute. Now he's got Katie. No, that's Orlando Bloom. See, I get him mixed up.
You get him confused with who?
Well, who did you say? Maybe I'm getting confused.
I said Legolas from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And what's his name? His real name?
Orlando Bloom.
Oh, you did say Orlando Bloom. Okay. That's who I was thinking of.
It's crazy to think that all these actors growing up like are getting older.
I know, to have kids and
yeah. I just remember seeing him when I was like 6 years old and in the
I used
Lord
to
of
have
the
a
Rings.
makeup
And now he's like
bag.
in his 40s.
I used to have a makeup bag and it said Mrs. Orlando Bloom. And my son got mad at me. He goes, he's too young. He's too young for you. Why would you? He goes, that's not right. I said, it's just
You
a
would
makeup
make him
bag.
what?
He didn't like that I had a makeup bag that said Mrs. Orlando Bloom. I actually found one that said that, and it bothered him.
Funny.
It bothered him because he thought that was like sick because I was so old. I go, it's just a makeup bag.
Yeah.
I was surprised I even found it. I just thought it was funny.
Right.
And now he's got Katy Perry pregnant, right? They're gonna have kids.
Him and Katy Perry?
Is that who he's with? I think so.
I don't know.
Didn't he used to be with that cute model?
Yeah, Miranda Kerr.
Yeah, and now he's with Katy Perry. Is it not? Is it a secret?
I don't know. I don't really pay attention to those things.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Because
sure.
normally what it is they're doing some type of publicity stunt for a movie
Oh, so you never
most
know
of
if
the
it's
time.
real.
And it's never really all real. Sometimes it is.
Yeah. That's looking good.
You know, Orlando Bloom we haven't really heard of him for a while. And, you know, all of a sudden he's in the headlines. That's because of his new show, I'm sure. So he has to stay in the crowd so people don't forget that he's in a show.
Oh. Okay, so I add a little black. See, I could never just throw black lines on a woman's face, but it looks good on a man. Okay. Should I go to a woman now instead of boring you with all the same stuff? I'm gonna go find, let's see how I do this. I'm gonna go find, ooh, my battery's low. I gotta plug it in. Hold on, you guys. That's all you need is for me to lose connection. 1 second, I just have to plug it in. So while I'm plugging it in, stretch your necks, move your shoulders. Okay, which one is not plugged in? Right here. Okay.
I guess she is pregnant.
Oh, you're looking it up?
Yeah, I did. It's
Well,
the
she
picture of
hid
her
it for-
eating pickles.
She hid it for a long time on the, what is it? That music show, American Idol? Is that the one she's on? Or The Voice? She's
I
on
think
one of
it
them.
is American Idol.
Yeah, she hid it. She kept wearing those weird costumes. You never knew.
Oh, she's sitting down so no one's gonna see.
Yeah, so she hid it. And so the finale of the show, she announces that she's pregnant.
That's gonna be such a pretty baby.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm looking for architecture. And I kind of like Gothic. Let's see what I find.
She's a little
Okay.
old to be.
What?
She's a little too old, I think, to have a kid. I hope
How
it
old
goes
is he?
okay. I would always get scared being a little older having a kid.
How old is she?
She's got to be like in her 30s, mid 30s maybe.
Oh, I had one at 35,
Yeah.
but I had 4, so that was my last one.
Mm-hmm.
So you see all these little Gothic treasures?
Ooh.
Where's that one? Why didn't it go big? Maybe I have to. Oh God, now I lost it. Let's see. Did I lose it? Okay, but I don't want it so darn big. Go back. I have this new computer, so it's a little more difficult to remember how to do everything. Why is it not going big? It just goes to the side. I want to see it. Okay, that's as close as I get. Okay, so you can see, I'm going to do woman now. So you can use one of your templates from, or you can draw your own. I don't care. So a lot of my artwork is sitting in the closet at Trade Tech. So, but you get all fresh new sketches. So I'm going to use this architectural inspiration to come up with a design. So I love this little intricate detail. So I'm going to put that detail, and it's got like this 4-leaf clover on it. And then it has, so, I mean, I could put this into lace. That would go really nice with lace. And maybe these would be that word I can't say, Swarovski crystals. Maybe it would be that. And then, let's see, it comes down. So you can tell I'm getting it all from that circular to whatever that is called. So I would decide how this is going to fit the body. And is this going to be lace, or is it going to be boning and piping? Is it going to be, what is it going to be? So then I think I will go the reversed direction and do that upside down. And so I've put that motif into my design. And then maybe I'll have a nice bell sleeve that comes out. And this is why it's not good to have both hands up in the air, because you really can't see the garment, what those sleeves are doing. So I'm going to take that one arm, and I'm not going to have it down. I'm going to have it down so I can see what the heck did I just create. So I made a long sleeve. And then do I want a slim skirt or a full skirt? Anybody want to decide? Nobody cares? Let's see. I'm gonna go slim.
I was gonna say maybe a mermaid. Oh yeah, you're already doing it, it looks like.
I think you read my mind.
Yeah, that looks good. I think it goes really well with the bodice, and it kind of mirrors the sleeves a little.
Yeah, so now here was my arm. So maybe I'll put a big rock on her finger. And then, let's see. What will I do to those sleeves? Do I want one of those designs in my sleeve? I'm looking at all the different designs. Maybe I'll put piping on the end, and it's got some kind of little. So I have to decide, are these going to be embellishments? Or are they going to be, so I've got my sheer sleeve, so that's my transparent. Maybe I'll make this skirt a shiny silk charmeuse. And then all of this could either be lace or it could be embellishments to create that design.
I think it would be cool if the cross was like some type of like metal, like silver metal.
You mean here?
Yeah.
Okay, so that could be an embellishment.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm changing the hairstyle, and I get her face just a little shorter so her lips, her chin wasn't too big. So this is a 005 and it got smashed. So that's why all of a sudden it went super thick when I was doing the face. It just got smashed. So there I've got one. So her hips look a little big. Somehow I got her hips a little too big. So maybe I'll just slim it down with a little thicker line. That'll work. That'll work. Just seems a little fat. I don't know. So I did colorless blender, and if I want to make it look like satin. So it helps to have a picture. So you're looking at this. I'm going to go to some other picture. So I'm going to just go to, how do I get to my, will this bring up my thing? No. Okay, I've got all these little things in the way. Let's see if I move it. Yeah. I just want to change. Okay, I want satin skirts. So I want some picture to help me with shadows. This one looks good right here. Where the heck did it go? What did I push? Just disappeared. Oh, I don't want it in white. It was in green when I looked at it there. See, that gives me some help. I can see where the shine would be. And here's her leg. The shine is going on the top of her leg. Her upper leg is a mountaintop. The side gets the shadow, the very top gets the highlight. You can see that effect. So I'm going to try to create that effect. A colorless blender helps me. Just make sure it's clean. I've got a sheet of bond paper here. Make sure it's clean. That one has a little pink tone to it, but it's okay. My color is really, actually this color is really dark. And I'm not on marker paper. So it's so not going to blend. So that's the problem with doing it on bond paper, is if you're doing satin, it's not going to blend. So it's not going to look as good as it could if I was on marker paper. But at least I can get some of that look. Yeah, I'm going to have to switch to marker paper if I'm going to get any chance of getting it looking like satin. So I'm going to my marker paper. Let's see. Yes, I found some marker paper. So you can just see the difference. So colorless blender. Didn't make much difference. A lot of it has to do with how wet your markers are. If they're brand new, they're probably going to be just fine. Mine aren't exactly brand new. So I have more than one blue marker. I'm going to get it out now. That's not quite the color I want. Yeah, this one's nice and wet.
Is that marker paper?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's hard for me to see. So I could have used pencil. So you can see it's just a little light blue, and I'm going to dip into another color. So I've got my bond paper. I had my tracing paper, but I don't know where it went. I'm going to hit the floor again. But I want a little bit of tracing paper too, so I can use it as a palette. This was the one I was using. So you want the bond paper so you can dry it off when it gets too much. It will wear out. So when it's wearing out is when I can move it around. But remember that theory of kindergarten. When I first put it down, it's going to look sloppy. But as I blend it more, I'm going to have more control. And it's really soft fabric, so I don't want sharp angles. I want soft curves. So it takes 2 or 3 times practicing this till you feel real confident. Because you're basically learning how to watercolor with markers. And I'm moving it around. Till I get this really pretty gradation that's slowly changed. And I left some white. So it had a little bit of crease right at the hip.
This is the blender marker that you're dipping into that marker, right?
Yeah, no, it could be colorless blender, but I used a light blue.
Okay.
But I could have done this with color. The only thing with colorless blender is it takes longer but this one's got light blue in it, so it's giving a little more light blue as I blend it out. So it's getting where I want it. So this is scary because I'm going right on it and I'm going to pull it. Just so I get a little bit of dark. Whenever you put it down, try to make it a shape that tapers so that as you blend it, you like the shape it created. So it's not too. So it gets it just a little bit darker. And then it just slowly fades back into that lovely shadow. I just get this slow change.
Miss Rad,
Yes.
could this special occasion be like a performance?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm gonna do a belly dancer performance.
Okay.
I don't know what I would do with the guy though, because that's to be the same occasion, huh?
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
it'd just be the man watching.
okay.
Okay, so I'm going to put just a little bit of sheer in there. And then I think, how do I want to do this? I might make this a piping. So it's a sheer fabric. It's got to be thin, so it reads sheer. So this one, I had this detail right here. So I could either, and this is where I have to decide how I want this to look. I don't know if you can see it all. So at this point, I could either go in with Flesh Now, or I could, it is ink, it's not smearing. It might smear because I haven't let it dry that long. But so far, so good. Haven't done the face yet, so I can fill the whole area. It'll be drying while I'm waiting. So now I'm going to put some lipstick on her. So I did the upper lip. Kind of smeared a little, but it's okay. I think I can make it look fine. So you can either use the Flesh fine point or a pale pink, but I'm just pulling down. Well, that is exactly what I was worried was going to happen, and it did. I smeared it, so I'm just trying to make it look like I meant it by going into the shadows, and hopefully it'll look okay. And now I'm going to take a darker brown, center of the lip, the corners, and the shadow. I can put a little shadow on the eyes and the nose. So I've just put a little shadow. I could blend it with the fine point of the colorless blender. And that looks cool. I didn't leave my white paper because there's not much room. I can get my whites back with a white gel pen. And now I'm going to do the upper lid. And then I'm going to try to get it light. I just tried to do just one side of the nose with the nostril. And I'm going to go back to my colorless blender. And I like the smoky eye, so I'm just blending some of that black liner because I just like that look. Maybe blue, you can barely see it. I really can't see it at all. Just makes me feel good that I put it there, but you really can't see it. Now I'm looking for a white gel pen. I'm going to put a little white on the tip of her nose. I'm going to pat it so it's not so strong. Sometimes it comes off way too strong. That's okay. I might go back over the Flesh now that it's dry and put a little shadow in. The shadow doesn't show very well. I'm going to dip it with light tan, which is really strong, but hopefully it'll be just enough to give me more shadow. It's a little strong, but it's not bad. Just gives me a little bit of shadow. We'll come back with some finer detail. I haven't decided, is this going to be beadwork or is it going to be lace? So if I can't even decide yet what it's going to be, I have to make sure that I put in my description a little more detail so I know what am I looking at, because I have a lot of choices. It can be lace, it can be beadwork, it can be embroidery. It can be crystals, it could be a combo of all of it. So it definitely had a band or that could be piping. But this follows the theme. So this one, I think all that detail is on the back side, so I don't really see it. Maybe I'll just show a little bit of it on there. So I know it's sheer, but this part's not sheer. It came around. And if I want some metallic in there, I could use, I have this metallic pen. So if I want to make that look like I added some metallic in there, leave a little highlight. And then I have to decide, do I want some of it down here too? I have to decide. Okay, so I add a little metallic. What do I want this part to be? So maybe it's going to be some boning. So it's built like a corset. And this has some detail in it. So maybe this blue. So this is a nice tight fabric that holds her up so it makes her look bustier. That's always nice. And then it's sheer, so I might see her arm in there. I might see her arm in here. Yeah, I just see hints of it. So just to help it read, I'm going to go on the back side, show a little of that flesh. That's working. So now what color hair should I do? Anyone have a preference? Let that dry and I'll go back in. Okay, so should I do, there's a couple of things I could do. I could go in and just put some white gel pen in before I do the hair. And what that's going to do is make whatever color I pick have some highs and lows, some darks and some not so dark. So I've got sheer. I'm going to put just a little bit darker value in there just to help it read that it's sheer. Yeah, that helps it read sheer. So the hair, anybody have a preference? Nobody has a, okay, I'm going to do something wild. I'm going to add this color that I have in my hand. I'm going to make that hair. So I can either use my colorless blender or a lighter color. Let's see. So I'm going to dip in. I think my whiteout is already dry. So close to the head, I went a little darker. The white gel pen gave me a little value change. And then I might take some little wispies. Do I want some color in this little design that I've done? Maybe I'll put some green in it. So I could either use a green pencil or a green marker. See if I can find a green pencil. Green pencil. Maybe I'm going to add some embroidery on this corset. So I've got a metallic cross and I've got some green embroidery. And maybe I will put on that sheer, this little banding is going to be a little darker. So this is my indigo blue. And this is going to make her look extremely busty because it's going to lift her in all the right places. And then I have to decide, do I want that banding on the hem or do I want to keep my hem just that beautiful silk charmeuse? Yeah, the banding might make it heavy and not drape as flowy and pretty. So the other thing I have to think about is construction. So when I'm building a dress, it's made out of a woven, silk charmeuse is a woven. A lot of times I could put this part on, excuse me, on the bias. And it'll fit real lovely, just like that green skirt on the picture. But when I come down here, my fabric is not wide enough to do this. I'm going to have panels in there to make it do that, which means I'm going to have to put seams, which kind of ruins the silhouette. So I have some choices. I could put godets, which are like triangle shaped pattern pieces in there. I could end it, the hem right here, and this could all be on the bias, but maybe I don't want that line to show. So I have to decide. So maybe I'll put the godets in. And so that means I'm going to see seams right here where the godet came in, and maybe another seam right there. And then it's not so disturbing to me having those seams there. But you have to think about construction. This will be a set-in sleeve, and I'm going to make it raglan so it fits right in this line. And then this is like a corset. So then I have to decide, well, how am I going to get in that? Well, most likely I'm going to have a zip back. So when I design the flat, I'm going to put the zip back. Okay, so now I'm going to go find my template for making flats. So give me a few minutes, see how organized I am to go through my pile and find my template for flats. So let's see. That's my template for movement. Faces and shading. Not there yet. Being organized is really crucial for being a designer. So try your best to come up with organizing solutions. So that thing I was watching yesterday after class, it was a tour of a fashion designer's studio. And I'll find the link and I'll put it up. But it was pretty cool to see what she used to organize all her stuff. I have to say that's got to be one of my most challenging things, is to be organized. Here's a really pretty sketch. I did not do this. This is a colleague that I used to work with, but it's a real pretty sketch. It's a light green, a celadon green. It looks sheer. I can see the body popping through it. And then the very dark shadows help it pop up. Just such a pretty sketch. I love her eyes. This is Susie Zarati, and she's a costume illustrator for the movies. I think she did the illustrations for Matrix. And you can find illustrators on, there's a thing called the Illustrate Costume Guild, and you can see all their portfolios. If you, maybe I'll find the link to that and put it up on a module so you can explore. Okay, I have no idea where my template is. Aha. I have a whole nother stack of files, flat templates. Okay, so I'm going through a ton of children's collections. Aha, I found it. Okay, so I think that's the template I gave you. I think. I'm pretty sure it is. Does that template look familiar? Hopefully it does. So I'm going to turn my design, I'm going to turn this design into a flat. And I will quit sharing that skirt and I will go back to gallery view. So you're all there, nobody's talking. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to make a flat. So I'm going to start with a clean sheet of bond paper. So the first thing I do on my bond paper, okay, that was my last sheet on there. My first thing I do before I do a flat is I'm going to grid it on my bond paper. So I'm going to get my pencil, which is somewhere in this menagerie of markers. There's my pencil. And I'm going to grid it out. So I make 2-inch lines. So I start at the edge of the paper so that it's all parallel and aligned, because I do not want my flats crooked. I will be erasing these after everything is inked. So usually I do demos in the first half of class, and then I give you lab the second half. Being it's an online format, I don't know if that's too much for you, and if you'd rather have half the lesson in the first half and then we have our break, and then you have half the lesson in the second half. So it's not so much time paying attention at one time. So mull that over. I did put a survey up there on the quizzes in that section. I put a survey. You're not getting points for it. It's not graded. I'm just asking you about online teaching and what would improve it. What do you not like? Just the usual, so I can keep some sense of how you're doing and what you like. Over the years, I usually do about 2 surveys during a class time, and they really help. I've changed things up that I didn't even think about that students suggest. So that's my grid. So now I'm going to use some tracing paper. And I'm going to go into my, now I have choices as a designer. I made this idea. Do I want it to be all one piece, or do I want it to be two piece? It could be a skirt and a top, or it could be a top, a corset, and a skirt, or it could all be one piece. So those are design decisions I have to make. I am going to start now. That's a very wide skirt, so I've got to make sure I give myself enough room. So I moved it over a little bit so I have more room for that skirt. I'm going to draw the template axis line, and I'm going to draw the HPS line. Okay, now I'm going to decide where things are going to go. So this is a V, it's going to come down, and then it curves. So it's going to curve under the armpit. And is that as low as I want it? Maybe I want it a little higher. And then this is going to come here. And it does not have a set-in sleeve. It is a raglan sleeve. So I made, do I want that point to come up to my neck, or do I want it to be lower? That is my decision. Okay, I think as I draw it, I might change my mind here. I think I'm going to make it more of a scoop. So it comes about here. And then that V shape comes about here. And then it comes up. So it changed it just slightly. And then I have to have the back higher. So this is all going to be in the gray. Okay, so now set in sleeve, and it hugs the body and it comes up, and then this shape comes down. So there's my shape. This hugs the body, and then it's going to flare out. And hopefully I left enough room on this tracing paper. If I don't leave enough room, here's my legs, here's my foot. So my skirt's going to go there. It's going to start to flare out. And do I want it longer? Do I want the back to go longer? Yes. And so this is going to curve. It's going to curve right there. And then because it's curving, you're going to see another panel here and here. So you can see what I just did. I created the skirt longer. And now this sleeve, I need to fix your template so it doesn't have that sleeve just one place. I'm going to pivot this sleeve out slightly because I want to see the fuller sleeve. So here's my, going to make it a little longer. It's going to come out. So trying to make them even. That's even. Okay, so there's the sleeve out farther and the long. And so right here, I'm going to have that band. And then because I've decided this is all jeweled and I have to decide. This came up. And then on the princess line, it came out, and then it had another band here. And then my design went like this. And I have to decide, is this applique? Is this? So that metallic might be an applique. And then all of this might be Swarovski crystals. This is a banding or piping. And so on the side here, I'll decide how big that will be and what it will be. So this will all be done in gray or in diagonal lines. Most likely gray because it takes less space. So then I have to design the back. So I have to have enough room. So I just made it big enough. Move this grid so it isn't so confusing. I'll use that in a minute. So I'm not going over time. Okay, so it's access line, HPS line, and now the back view. What do I want that back view to do? So I know it's coming across right here. I know that my waistband's coming across. So you have to think, if it's coming across, do you want it to just go straight across, or do you want it to do something different? So you have to decide. So maybe I will make it come across here. And maybe I'll make this. Do I want it to come down slightly in the back? And maybe as this comes to the back, I might have a button loop, a keyhole. So that sleeve sewed into a raglan. Oh, so I forgot about that. So if it's sewing in there, it's got to sew in here. And this collar is a band. So it's going like that. So there's my sleeve sewing in. So I have to really think through the construction of this garment when I'm creating the back side. So the sides have to match up. So if this is on both sides on the back, you're going to see the same design. Okay, so here's my back. That will work. So this had the crystals on the other side, so I'm going to repeat them here. I see the same crystals. I still can have a keyhole. It's all sheer. This is sheer. And then that banding came around the back. So my zipper, I'm going to put an invisible zipper right here. I have to come down at least 7 inches from the waist so that she can get the fullest part of her hip out of that zipper. So I want to see the zipper pull, and it's a little thicker line. And then more than likely, I will have a center back seam, and this back will end at this line. And this seam and that seam are coming through. So these are large godets that fit in there. Now this one is going to go down the back. Did I want that seam down the back? Do I need that extra fullness? That's my question, because then I'm going to have a seam that goes somewhere back here. Or I could have a hem and it connects into the hem, but I think I'm going to just get rid of that because I don't think that's very pretty. I don't want that seam. It's only going to be on the sides. So this can't be, this width is doubled So the width of the fabric has to be at least that wide. So I may come back from the first sample and realize I need a seam here because my fabric's not wide enough. So I'm taking a guess they're going to find wide enough fabric so that I don't have to have that seam, but I am not sure. So it's a gamble when I go into sample making. Am I going to have to make another sample? But be aware that there's nothing wrong with making 3 or 4 samples till you get it the way you want it to look. So far, this has to be straight across. It cannot be lifting up at all, or you will end up getting a little, what do I call those things? I don't remember what I called it, but it looks like seagull. Yeah, called it a seagull. You don't want that. It's got to be straight. So you learn that in pattern making. It has to be a 45-degree angle. But now you're learning it in illustration, because making flats is about sewing. So a lot of you haven't had sewing yet. So you really have to start looking in your wardrobe at all the pattern pieces that make up a garment. Sleeves, if they have an opening where the armhole is, they usually are set in or raglan. You can't just draw a sleeve and then come back over here and it magically did that. Fabric doesn't do that. It's on a grain that's just vertical and horizontal. So to get it to go around a curve, it has to be sewn in with a seam. And fabric is not super wide, so I've got to make a seam and add more fabric. I can go around curves with woven fabric if it's on the bias. Very expensive if it's on the bias. So that's another thing that might happen. The production manager might go, this costs too much. We can't be making these dresses all on the bias. So that means I've got to either put a dart or a princess seam or a panel so that I can keep it all on the straight of the grain and it'll still make that curved shape around her hourglass figure. So there's my first flat, and I pull out my gridded paper and I'm ready to put it on there. And it's 9:09, so I've got 6 minutes before it's time for you to have breakfast. Do any of you eat breakfast this early, or have you already had breakfast? Anybody still here? So will this give me room to do both garments? That is the question. So let's see, if I put the first one here, I would have to swing that down so it would fit about right here. Okay, so this is my back view and it'll just fit. So I like to freehand draw it first so I can really see it and then go back in with my rulers and clean it up. You may find that you don't like how much time it takes to do that. So these are like Swarovski crystals. And right here, it's going to have a button loop, and that button attaches it. So this has a keyhole back, an invisible zipper. It has a binded hem. Sometimes I call banding when it goes between 2 seams, and I call piping when it covers a raw edge. It's binding. If it's piping, it's usually narrower, and it goes like on the edge of a collar or on a placket. So definitely we'll have to clean that up with a French curve. I don't know where I put my French curve, my homemade one. Okay, I forgot to trace my HPS. Okay, there's one back view. Flip it over. You can tape it down. Notice how I haven't been taping it down. Very dangerous, because you could get it really crooked if you don't tape it down. So my HPS and my axis line match. If you have trouble getting them to match, usually the HPS won't match if you make it too wide. But keep that in mind. Match up your axis line first, and then your HPS. So I'm getting a little seagull effect right here. I don't like that. So I want it to be more like a curve. So I have to go back in and figure out what did I do wrong on my make sure when you draw the seams that they end all the way. You don't leave any gaps in a seam. I'm going to be circling them on my annotations. So on Canvas, the annotations are done with this tool that looks like a Etch-a-Sketch. It's very hard to get a straight line or a circle. I'm sure one day they'll perfect it, but right now it makes, when I'm doing your corrections, it makes it look like I was drunk because it kind of wobbles around. So this one went all the way up here, and I don't know why this one's not doing that. You got to make them look the same. So it's either closer or it's farther apart, but you got to make them look the same. Okay, so there's my first back view, and now my front view. Now I could, which I'm going to, take that arm and I'm going to move it. Just pull it down a little so that we fit. I don't have to take so much space. Actually, it does fit there, but I could like move it over a little. So I just want to move it over a little so I have more room in my layout. So I changed my axis line, and I'm going to bring my front view. That's my front view. Label them so you're not confused. F for front. Okay, so I'm going to put it closer. I don't want it going into my body, so that's too far. So maybe my second axis line was a waste of time because I don't want it going into my body. I could stagger it. One could be a little higher than the other. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So what I'm going to do is do the collar. Maybe I'll do the bodice. And then right at the shoulder, after I draw this bodice. So it covered a little bit of my garment. I can still see the seam and the seam and the seam. So it's not hiding anything I can't figure out. Well, I don't see that turn, but I will see it on the other side, so that's okay. So I'm going to just get this design. We're running out of time. Yes, I went over time. Okay, so it's break time. I didn't mean to go over time, but I'll come back to this. Are you all there? You can unmute yourself and
Yes,
say, okay.
Steven.
Yes, here.
Okay, so take a break, go have some breakfast, come back at 9:40. Okay?
Oh, Miss Rad,
Yes.
when is this collection due?
On the last day of class?
Oh, okay.
Is the last day of class the 8th of June?
The 8th of June?
Is it?
I don't know. I'll have to look that up. So that would be
I have to look it
that's
up
like
too.
what, 2.5 weeks from now?
Yeah, I think it's,
The 8th of June is on a Monday.
yeah, I
So the
think we
last
have the
class is on
weekend and we
Monday?
come back on that Monday. Now we can make it Friday, but I think you're going to want the extra time.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay. And do you know that what next Monday is?
Next Monday is the 25th.
And that
That's
is,
Memorial Day. Do we
Yeah.
have that off?
yeah,
Okay.
isn't that nice? You get to sleep in.
Yeah.